Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming and thank you for joining us on this second annual HG Safari, Sunday Safari for the OpenSim Community Conference. Now, that's a long sentence and a complicated one, much like today's trip is likely to be. So before we start, I'd just like to explain something about Hypergrid Safari. The idea of calling it Safari comes from the fact that jumping from grid to grid is very much like a real life safari in Africa. You may leave all together in one group, but it's not necessarily the fact that you're all going to come home together or even alive, because in fact, jumping from one grid to another often results in crashing, freezing, getting lost, and also meeting interesting people and seeing beautiful places. So there's a little bit of everything in a safari. And that's what we're hoping to show you today. The traditional format of a safari is to visit several different grids and several different builds on each visit that we take, rather than just going to a single destination. And the idea behind that is that we can learn to grid jump better, at the same time visiting lots of different interesting places that maybe we want to return to at a later date. As you can imagine, in 3 hours to visit 3 different grids, you really do not have the time to thoroughly appreciate everything that's on the Sims, but this means you can come back on another occasion and visit more thoroughly, and the owners will be delighted to see you. So this particular version of the Sunday Safari is a special one because what we're really going to do is 2 safaris. In other words, we're going to split this group into 2, and half are going to go with Sunbeam Magic and visit 3 wonderful destinations. That's going to be the Butterfly group. And the other half of the group is going to come with me and see 3 other destinations, equally interesting, and we're going to be the Dragon group. So you'll all be going on tours that go to different grids but have a similar theme. That means that both groups will be visiting some big art. I'm talking about sim-sized art. Following that, we'll also be going to see some educational sims on both sides. Something to do with culture, something to do with business. And we'll also be going to do something that's a great deal of fun, going to a fun fair and seeing how physics and scripts can work very well in OpenSim. So I hope that you'll all enjoy your trips. I hope that you'll be able to stick with us throughout. When we finish the last stop, there'll be the option to go to the Maritime Club and hear some music, or if you like, also to go and see some Shakespeare on Kitely Grid. So I really hope you'll all enjoy the trip, and keep your landmarks close to you. Open an IM with your group leader, please, so that we can find you and teleport you if you get lost, and have fun.
Well, we're back on the OpenSim Community Convention Safari, and we've now come to a simulator based on Kitely called All My Boats. And here to tell us a little bit about it, I'm joined by Karima Hoysan and Dale Innes. So welcome both of you, and I'll hand over to you, Karima, to get us going.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Mal, for coming to visit, and really it's a great honor for us to be able to have you here today. Basically, this is my 12th world on Kitely. It's my 4th joined world with Dale. Dale and I have made 4 worlds together now, and it's what it basically is a poem that we brought to life. The whole world is about that. I mean, there's many things to do, but the main attraction is to listen to the poem. That now that we have the problem with not being able to stream, sometimes people that don't have the PCs, especially Windows people, don't have they're not the possibility of streaming in world. I have a URL that you can listen to it on a browser, but it's to listen to a poem to the music by Leonard Cohen. The poem is mine. The music is an instrumental by Leonard Cohen called Tacoma Trailer, and then to watch literally the poem come alive. So this is what is, if it wouldn't be for Dale, the boats would never leave the dock, but Dale has made that possible, and there's many attractions that you can enjoy besides this, but this is the main attraction, to be part of a living poem.
I have to say it's very colourful too, looking at our cameras here. How about you, Dale? We know what your involvement is, we just told, but any comments?
Yeah, I don't have a huge amount to add. I consider myself mostly the implementer. Karima has the crazy ideas and says, could we make a script that does this? And I immediately say no, and then I come back an hour later and say, well, maybe we could. And we get crazy things like this. So, yeah, definitely enjoy it. If any scripters in the group can try to figure out how everything was done, I certainly wouldn't be able to figure out how they were all done, because there's a lot of out-of-the-box thinking here.
That's the way it should be, really. Think outside the box.
I want to say one more thing, Mel, just about the sim, because I really want to give credit and honor to Hypergrid in its generosity. Practically everything, except for what we actually made ourselves, has either been given to us, or we have copied it freely from people, from builders and scripters who have offered their builds and scripts all over the Hypergrid as something that can be shared. So in the same sense, I also have everything that can be copied and shared too. And really, it's amazing, this sense of sharing that we have here in the Hypergrid.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more with that. Okay, well, you're about to have a lot of people descend on you, I suspect, so I'm going to let you get off and start hosting it. Any final comments? Sorry, Dale?
No, just enjoy. Yeah, it's definitely that. Just a second, the spirit of sharing across the Hypergrid has been a wonderful help in all the stuff that I've done, and that Karima has done.
Would that we had it back in the days of that Linden place? Yes.
Yes, wouldn't that be nice?
Well, there's a lot of freebies in this now. They just happen to be pretty bad, most of them.
Okay, well, thank you both very much, and we're also going to be
our pleasure.
campers around filming aerial views and things like that. So we've got a bit of extra footage to show people. But good luck with the tour.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Hello, and this is, we're on Ignis Fatuus grid now. This is a fairly small grid. It's run by Max Hill, and the sim we're on right now is called MS Sim. It's run by MS Socrates, who's a real-life teacher. This sim has been built as a part of an educational project. It's where OpenSim comes into high school. This is not the very first project that Aimé has done. Other projects that he's done include the Pic du Midi, CERN, and he also built the Opéra de Paris together with this team. And so this particular project instead is a little bit different. It's supported by the National Education Board of France and also Canopem Network. And the idea is that they are going to introduce students to the world of business at the students are around 17 years old, so at a very basic level. The team has been put together to make this project happen, and they decided to reproduce a real company that is local to the high school here in Alsace. And that way it makes the project much more real. In fact, this building that you see now is just 20 kilometers away from the high school where Aimé teaches. They all have decided, of course, for the purposes of our visit today, to remove the name of the company. And so they would appreciate it if you don't distribute any logos or anything like that. So what's the point of this project? It's a way that students can interact immediately with people in the business world in a virtual manner. So some of the people that they'll be meeting are NPCs who give them directions and ask questions, and they have to respond to that. Others are professors of supervisory staff who are going to be following the pupils to see how well they do in the work environment. So it's a game in a way, but it's also a very serious game because it helps students understand how working in the world of business actually feels without having to leave the classroom. Each of the students are going to meet figures from the company, and the idea is that eventually they may even be hired by the company
to work in the real world environment. So that's the project here. And as I say, Max Hill and Chip and the rest of the team have really helped EMEA make that happen. And of course, we can't forget the wonderful Jeff Kelly, who is the god of scripts on this region and on the whole grid, and without whom nothing happens.
On this stop on our very special safari, we're in Lost World Grid, which is the home and domain of Joe Builder, one of the most prolific and creative builders that you will find in all of OpenSim. If you go to the portal world, the welcome sim of Lost World Grid, you'll see all the very many worlds that he has built. Everything from a biker den to Hogwarts, everything from romantic ballroom to spooky and very sinister sims built especially for Halloween and vampires. Joe actually sells these sims, and so he has a vast number. Anybody who's looking for something ready-made that they could just add to, he is really the go-to man. And this sim that we've chosen to visit today is a Disney-inspired sim, as you can see, the Magical Kingdom. So we have the Disney-style Cinderella castle. We have many rides, including things that you would expect to see on a trip to Disneyland. There's a Pirate's Cove. There's a Western Village, and many, many other things to explore. Joe's builds are always huge. It's very easy to get lost, so enjoy your time here. On this stop on our Sunday safari, we're visiting Craft Grid, and in particular a lovely region called La Dolce Vita. You may have heard of the film from the 1960s by Federico Fellini, with the famous scene of Anita Ekberg swimming or dancing in the fountain. Well, this grid brings all that together and much more. For example, you should look out for the Bocca della Verità, which is an old Roman piece of sculpture that is used to test whether people are telling the truth or not. Tradition says that if you put your hand inside the mouth and then tell a lie, the face will bite your hand off. As you can see from this street, there's a lot of untruthful people coming through this sim. But there's lots more to see. For example, where I'm standing is Trinità dei Monti. There's also the Colosseum, which is just a beautiful piece of architecture, and the Piper nightclub is a treat to see too. Don't miss the Farnese Cinema. Don't miss the Farnese Cinema, where you can also watch some movies and just enjoy the sense of Rome in the 1960s. This is a perfect sim to learn about Italian cinema, about Italian culture, and about Italian architecture. On this stop in our Sunday safari, we're on Zan Grid, which is a beautiful, beautiful small grid, one of my favorites in all of the hypergrid. And we were lucky enough to have with us the owner of Zan Grid, Suze Blessed. Suze, could you tell us something about how you decided to start this grid?
Well, I could, but actually I didn't start it. It was a colleague of mine, Gabriel, who started it, and he asked me to join him, to help him. And after a year, he said, I cannot deal with it anymore due to real life, etc. And I took over, and that was now it's almost 3 years ago. In January it's 3 years ago. And then I hired some people who could help me, and and since then I'm running the grid. I like it. It's kind of a hobby, It's not like you make money out of a grid, OpenSim, but it's a hobby, and it's nice to have happy people around. That's my goal, and nothing more, nothing less,
And that's one of the things people always say about Zan Grid. It is such a friendly grid. It's one of those grids you come to if you don't want drama. come to Zangrid, because that's what it's known for, and I love that. Can you tell us what made you decide to build a theme park like this one?
Well, this actually it was an offer from a builder in Osgrid, and she was selling some Orvals with some attractions. And then I thought, oh gee, that's fun, because attractions is always fun for people. And what I did, I rebuilt it, and that's it. But I used all her scripts and some of her roller coasters, etc. And I did build the whole, well, thing around it, so to speak. You know, like what we are standing on and the rocks and all that stuff. So it, in my eyes, looks like a bit of a European theme park, you know. I'm in real life a fan of Europa Park in Germany, and I visit that once in a while. Well, actually quite often, because I love roller coasters in real life. So yeah, it has my attention, and I think people like it. I think also hypergridders like it. We have visitors here. Who come, people who come, and the attractions work actually, so it's fun. And well, there's nothing more to it, to be honest.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Suze.
You're welcome.
So on this particular stop of our very special safari on a Sunday for the OpenSim Community Conference, we are on OpenSim Grid, OS Grid, and we're at the sim that belongs to Caro Feyre, who is a fantastic artist. This sim is in fact the first that she built when she came to OpenSim, and it includes a bunch of things to see and a lot of her art. Among the things that you can do while you're here is to take a ride on the clouds. It's available for couples and singles. It's a very romantic sim all the way round. There's also, though, on the melancholy side, a castle full of ghosts. And don't forget to look for the underwater world, which has a bubblefish ride, and many caves that are worth looking for, places where you can hang out and dance. Caro particularly wanted everybody to know that most of the things you'll find here are copyable. And if they're not copyable, you just have to ask her and she'll be willing to share. And as she says, have fun.